Hey, y'all, welcome back to the Late Night Vision Show. My name is Jason. I'm the owner of Outdoor Legacy, and this is the one and the only podcast dedicated to all things night vision, thermal imaging, hog and coyote hunting. If you can do it at night with a thermal or night vision scope, we're going to talk about it on this show. As always, I've got my co-host, Hans from the Hans East Texas YouTube channel. What's going on tonight in the big town of Ben Wheeler, Texas?
Well, good evening, Jason. As normal, we're not starting this podcast taping until very late at night, which seems to be the norm.
It does.
But it's good to be here. We are rolling right through. We've got a lot of things to talk about on the show tonight. There's some topics that you're going to hear about brand new. There's some things that we're going to recap from our last show. And also the topic tonight, 10 uses for thermal that don't involve hunting. So I know this is a hunting show, a night vision and thermal hunting show, but we thought we'd have a little fun at the end of the show and talk about these 10 uses for thermal. And it was really an idea from one of our listeners. Yeah.
Yeah, and you just scared me. You said it didn't have anything to do with hunting, and I immediately looked down at the list going, wait a minute, is there something about hunting on there? I had to be sure. I panicked for a minute, but no, I don't see anything on my list about hunting. You may have something on yours, but
yeah, one of our good listeners gave us the idea and said, hey, there's a lot of uses for thermal that I use it for, and we talked a little bit about it. I was like, that's a good topic, but if y'all out there have a topic that you want us to talk about or want to learn more about, you can comment to this video on YouTube. You can email us at the late night vision show at gmail.com. But we do look at all the emails. We respond as much as we can. It's difficult at times because we both get overwhelmed, which is a good thing, but we get overwhelmed with emails and questions, mostly scope, night vision scopes and thermal scope related, but we do try to answer as much as we can.
Yeah, so I want to talk about a couple quick things. This is just a couple quick updates. One thing, and this is probably, we should just announce this and just end the show right here. But the good news is by the time that this show airs, we and many, many other dealers across the country will have Pulsar rechargeable battery packs in stock on the shelf. It has been a very, very long wait, basically since the beginning of the year, or even maybe the end of December, to get some of these batteries in. It has been it's been trying. It's been a process. They've supposed to have been here. They came from a slow boat from Europe, but they are here, and like I said, by the time you listen to this, they should be on the shelves. I know dealers are getting them. Ours should be delivered tomorrow. So here's the thing. If you have an outstanding order from Outdoor Legacy, a back order, I mean, like you've literally paid for one of these battery packs, then give us until Friday. Okay, give us till the end of this week, and we're going to go through these. We're going to get them all shipped and get you tracking numbers. If by the end of the week you haven't seen a tracking number, just jump on, give us an email. You can send an email to info@outdoorlegacygear.com and say, hey, I ordered a battery back on such and such. Let me know. We have an absolute ton of back orders on these batteries. So we're going to be going through them, but all Pulsar batteries will be in stock. I know there's going to be some guys who want to jump on and buy one. We are going to wait to put them in stock until we filled all the back orders, not because we don't think we have enough. We think we have way more than enough, but because we don't want a bunch of more orders coming in before we can get these all handled. So we'll have them in stock, hopefully by the end of this week. And so if you're listening to this way on down the road, don't know what the battery situation will be like then, but as of right now, we're going to have plenty of batteries for trails, Helions, Axions, Thermions, you name it. We've got a bunch of them in.
Well, get ready for the spam emails to hit your email here pretty soon.
I know, it's exactly right.
Everybody spam Jason. No, I'm joking.
Do not.
So, in other piece of news, we have a very small number of these scopes have hit the dealers, but the brand new, much anticipated Pulsar Thermion XQ50 I've got one I'm showing. If you're listening on iTunes or Google Play, if you check it out on YouTube, I'll show it right now. But I've got Thermion XQ50 mounted on this. This is what I'm considering my ultimate coyote hunting rig. This is a Ruger Predator 243 with a Magpul stock. I'm going to try to do this without knocking everything off of this mic stand and everything else. But got it mounted on here. So this is brand new. It's, as you know, the XQ50. They're using the 384 cores, the 17 microns. The base mag on this is 3.5 power. It's 3.5 power, which, if you remember, the Trail XQ50s were 2.7, so a little bit higher base magnification.
I want to talk I'm sorry. I want to say one thing real quick there. That is a change, because when these were announced at SHOT Show, we were told they were going to be 3 power base magnification, and the XQ38 that is going to be coming, in a couple months, hopefully, it's going to be a 2.5 power. So I was like, man, those are really close. Well, the fact that they got this up to a 3.5 power, and it just tickled me. I mean, awesome. It just makes me, it's so much better. For the coyote hunter, it puts some separation between the XQ38 and the XQ50. So when last couple of weeks we found out they were actually going to be 3.5 power, I was just super excited about it.
Well, this rifle has been waiting for this scope for some time, and I got it mounted over the weekend, sighted in, and I've been out. I've taken it out twice now, and last night dropped a very big boar. If there's a picture of it on Instagram right now, it's Hans ETX on Instagram. I put it up. So the ultimate coyote hunting rifle dropped one of the ultimate boars that I've shot. It's one of the biggest ones I've shot. But a lot of people have asked, have I weighed it? Well, it was 2:30 at night, and the wife had probably already given up on me coming home anytime soon. So she had been waiting on me, ready for me to get home. I was ready to get home. I was just awful tired, so I did not weigh it out of pure laziness, and that's sometimes you have to be that way. But we've talked about it in the past. I don't weigh hogs unless it's the biggest thing I've ever seen in my life. Every time I weigh a hog, I'm disappointed. So I just don't weigh them anymore. And
well, you could do like everybody else, don't weigh them and then make up really big weights. That always works. I'm not gonna guess a weight and put it in writing anywhere, because I'm not that great at guessing. So to me, the picture is just going to speak for itself. It's a big hog. I don't know how much it weighs. That's all I'm going to say. It's a big one. The scope, the Thermion XM models, the XM38, which is not going to be around anymore, and the XM50s, as you know, Jason, those are the 320. Hang on. The XM50s are still here.
They're staying. Yep, XM38.
They're staying. Not the XM38.
Yeah.
I just want to be clear. XM50 stays 5.5 power. Right. The XM38 is already gone. Discontinued.
Already gone. Yeah, going away, and then XM50 staying. So, it's they were the 320 12 micron cores. The new XQ50, which is here in limited quantities, and the XQ38, which are coming out later on down the road. Those are the 384 17 microns. The XQ38, would they say it's going to be 2.5 power?
It's going to be that's the current number is 2.5 power base magnification. Hey, I want to say something too, guys. We've got a lot of people that are on our pre-order list for these XQ50s, and listen, this was not even a full official shipment from Pulsar. It was considered sort of like a pre-shipment. It was a small number of scopes, and a select number of dealers, got a few of them, really for us to go out and start using them. So we did get a couple guys, their orders filled with them. But if you're on that list, just sit tight. The quantities hopefully will start coming in on normal regular shipments, and we'll be going down that list. If you're on the XQ38 list, sit a little bit tighter, because it's probably still going to be a while. They're not here. They're not shipping yet. Right. Again, I talked to Pulsar last week. They're saying somewhere between 45 and 60 days. And even then, it's going to take some time to get these scopes rolled out. So bear with us, but I think you're going to be very happy. I know I've been using the scope as well over the weekend and the end of last week. And I've been very impressed with the scope.
I like it a lot. I'm going to tell you, this week at some point, I'm going to be releasing a short video on my YouTube channel, Hans ETX. And it's going to be just basically my first impressions, first hunt video with it. So you'll get to see some video. I'll scroll through some of the different color palettes, shoot a big hog, shoot a couple more hogs after that. So you'll get to see that sometime soon. You know what? As we're speaking right now, if you're listening on audio version here on the YouTube channel, I'll scroll some videos up right now so you get to see it while we're talking. But I really like it. I really like the 3.5 power, especially since it's on a coyote hunting rifle. And, I look forward to being able to take some pretty long shots with it. But, man, I'm really liking it right now. I called you yesterday. Actually, it was this morning because I didn't get home till 3 o'clock in the morning. But this morning I called you and just telling you how much I really like the new XQ50 and I like the picture on it. And, of course, you and I are going to like the Thermion design because we love our XP50.
Exactly.
So,
it's just exactly right.
Yep.
Well, and I'd say this, folks, stick with us because we are going to do a full review of it. Hans and I want to get another week or two behind the thing. Again, it's one of those things. I had a guy tell me the day, he's like, well, how long do you have to use it? A couple months before you review it. And I was like, listen, on a scope like this, we know the ins and outs of everything on this scope. The only thing that's different about it is just literally the magnification and what the image quality looks like. And so it's not hard at all for us to spend a couple nights behind it and know, and we're going to have a lot more than that, a lot more time than that behind it before we review it, but we will be. And so stay around next few weeks as we'll be getting to that review quickly.
I think the biggest question that people were wondering about the switch to the 384 17 micron away from the 720 12 micron, from the Thermion XM models to, now the Thermion XQs. People want to know what the difference looks like. And
and that's going to be something that we're going to have to do. We're going to have to put them side by side. I've got to get with, Chester Cup, who is our Outdoor Legacy Pro Staff author. And I talked to Chester a long time today. His thermal rifle scope that he uses is an XM38. So he's really excited about getting the XQ50 and putting it beside each other to see exactly what they look like and test them out. So we're going to be getting him one and, trying to determine really, what do they look like side by side, because I think they're going to be very, very similar. But anyway, we're going to leave that for the review. We're not going to make a bunch of wild speculations right now.
I imagine we're going to do that pretty soon, very soon on that Thermion XQ50 review. But up next, we want to, last week we talked about the Helion, the Pulsar Helion 2 XP50. We want to recap that conversation a little bit to reinforce a message, maybe to clarify a little bit. And also, while Jason's talking on about the video or about the monocular itself, I'm going to run some video, some side-by-side comparison of a very new Pulsar Helion XP50 up against the brand new Pulsar Helion 2 XP50. So the Helion 50 XP50.
Don't tell them which side it's on.
I'm not, but the comparison.
Okay, good.
Just so that everybody knows, this Helion XP50 was sold to a buddy of mine, Patrick, right before the switch over to the Helion 2 XP50 model. So it's a very new regular Helion XP50. So it's side by side, so you can get a chance to see. And it's a group of cows that are about 75 yards away. We've got the setting exactly the same. So those are going to be running here while Jason talks a little bit.
Yeah, I just want to address this real quick. We've had several questions of, hey, y'all said in your full review, which was last week, episode 103, that where we did the full review of the Helion 2 XP50. I'm not going to get into the recap of that. If you're interested, go back and watch that. The Helion handheld thermal monocular, it is. The XP model is the highest resolution that Pulsar's got. The XP50 is kind of the flagship. So we stated in our review that the image quality was the same. Essentially, as far as the eye could see, they were the same from the original model to the new model. And we've had some people say, are you sure? Just questioning. And so not that, these people had done it. They were just asking like, wow, they're kind of surprised. So Hans is hopefully rolling this video now. that will show you our experience of these two side by side. I want to also say that Hans and I both personally own and run Helion XP38s, which are the same unit, except it's a 1.9 power base magnification versus the 2.5 power. The XP38s will be discontinued. They will not come out in the Helion 2. I don't know. I don't want to say ever, but they say they're not. They say they're going away. So we have updated those units as well to the 4.0 software, and we put them side by side with the XP50. And those units are not new. They're older units, and we can't tell a difference. I mean, other than the magnification, 1.9 versus 2.5. Image quality looks the same. So we just wanted to show you what we've seen through the scope and, you know, or through the monocular. And a lot of times I say what you see with your eye may not always translate on the video. You know, let me tell you something. I think this video that you're seeing here shows that it shows what we see through the eyepiece. Those two are essentially identical. So anyway, we just wanted to throw that out. We'd had some questions about it, so that's our experience. And anyway,
and like we said before, I think the thing that we were saying was if you own a Helion XP50 and you've done the detail image boost firmware update, there's probably not a need for you to feel like you have to upgrade right away to the Helion 2 XP50, other than if you just want something new, or if you might feel like down the road, you know, that they're going to come up with new firmware updates to the Helion 2 XP50 models that you want to make sure that you get if they do that. We don't know that, but if whatever reason.
It does have longer video recording time. It's got a bigger storage capacity. That is. But anyway, we're not going to rehash that whole review. If you're interested, go check it out. But we just wanted to show you the side-by-side comparison of, we knew what it looked like looking through it. We didn't know what it was going to look like when we videoed it, if they were going to look the same, but I think that video speaks for itself. So it is what it is.
I'll say one more thing while we quit rehashing this, and I'll rehash it one more time. But no, I've had the Helion 2 XP50 for a month. I've had access to, like Jason said, the XP38 and an Helion XP50. I've looked through and compared them side by side many times. I'm not going to say there's not a difference at all, but I think if you handed those monoculars to the average person or to whomever, I think they'd have a hard time telling which is which. And that's how close those videos are and the images are. That's been our experience. That's been Jason's experience, my experience. A buddy of mine that I hunt with a lot, he's looked through it and he's like, I can't tell a difference. So we just wanted to show the video because last time we talked about it, we didn't get a chance to show video. Now we've got it now. But if you have any other questions on it, you just let us know.
And I'll double down just once. And my double down is, I think this is something worth saying. I think every thermal unit, every night vision scope, that can be a little bit different. Okay. There's imaging sensors in there. There's germanium lenses. There's glass eyepieces. There's display screens. There can be variations in every one. So I thought to think that there couldn't be one that was a little bit different. I think it's highly possible. Just speaking to the 4 XP units that we've used, I would say that I'll bet money if you could pick out, which one was that. But yep, absolutely. So that is that. I hope you enjoyed that video. Hope that hopefully clears up a few things. If there's any questions on that, if you're interested in one of those units or any other, handheld, thermal, whatever, give us a call at Outdoor Legacy at 877-350-1818, and we'll be glad to answer any further questions you've got.
We kept referencing the video, which ended about 10 minutes ago.
That's okay. And if you're listening on
go check
one
it
of the
out
podcast
on
apps, you can go to this video on YouTube and just watch that little snippet, see what happens.
Yeah, I'll put it in there. It's 40 seconds long. But so to get to our topic, our main topic today, this is the 10 best uses for thermal that don't involve hunting. And this was hard for me to do because all I think about is hunting and how I can use it to help me hunt better. But there's an article, and you know what? There's an article out, and I'm going to put a link to this article in the description of the video. It was kind of a cheat sheet, but that's okay. But it was an article written, the 65 unique uses for infrared thermal imaging. So if you're interested in the full list, I'll put that in the description of the video. But I'm going to run through. Jason, you and I will go back and forth and kind of scatter shoot this thing.
I want to say something about why I think this topic personally, why I think it's good, is because I've had a lot of guys over the years who have called me and justified why they were buying their, be it a monocular, be it a scope, other than just hunting. And a lot of guys have been able to, write these off for their business. A lot of different businesses, and I don't want to give some of this stuff away. We may talk about it here. But a lot of guys for their business have been able to write it off. Their accountant goes, yeah, you can absolutely use that for your business. So that's a write-off. There's other guys that, use it on their farms, some of these other uses that it's just a justification. And let's be honest about it. If your wife wants to know why you're going to spend, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, sometimes this is the reason you can give her. You can pick a few of these off the list. Don't even mention hunting, and it's just a byproduct. You just happen to get to go hunting with it. So I do think that, but in all seriousness, these thermal scopes do have a lot of other uses, and I think for the average guy, no, you're not going to buy this for some of these other reasons we're going to give, but they are, it does give you other things to do with it to hopefully maybe justify it and use it maybe in the off season or whatever. So we're just going to give you 10. There is a lot in this list that Hans talked about. There's a bunch of things listed on there. I do think that some of it, they kind of stretched it. They used the same thing and named it 4 different things. But this list was stuff we basically had come up with mostly on our own, and things that, again, either we do or we've heard customers do or people that we know personally. So let's jump into this list, and maybe you'll find something on here that'll help you convince your wife to let you get thermal.
Well, not the first one on my list, but yeah, a lot of people call up and say, is thermal tax deductible if I'm using it for land management? And I guess that just depends on who your accountant is, but I don't know if I'd make that stretch to do it. But so number one on my list, which I think is relevant to what we're going through right now, there's a very large, believe it or not, Ben Wheeler, Texas, which I think is population 800 or 900 at this point. There's a very large automatic door company in Ben Wheeler, Texas. I don't know if they want me saying their name, so I won't say it. But Jason's good buddy works there, and which is kind of a small world because we live a couple hours apart.
My high school buddy, one of my best friends in high school. Big wig there. Yeah, it's a big company too.
Yeah, big company. Well, so my first one on my list is disease control temperature monitoring. And you called me, gosh, I guess last week, and we talked about this, where this door company, automatic door company, companies are wanting to put these thermal scanners somehow, I guess, in the doors so they can read people's temperatures as they walk through the doors. And this could be done going into anywhere, obviously airports, travel centers, anything like that. But that way, when you walk through, they can tell if your temperature, I guess they can calibrate these things to go off if it's your temperature reads at a certain rating. And it's all thermal, but yeah, that's I think it's pretty relevant right now. You will start seeing this a lot from what it sounds like.
Yeah, I think that's right. With all this coronavirus stuff, I think we're going to see this in some places. I have a lot of questions about it. I know that it works, but my question is, what if I'm at the airport and I'm running to catch my plane and I go through that thing and I don't know. I don't know how this all works, but I think it's going to be interesting. I do think that's something we're going to be seeing in the future. This is the first one on my list, and I jokingly have told this to a lot of guys. They'll say, we complete the purchase and they'll say, gosh, what am I going to tell my wife? And I say, tell her that you just bought a $5,000 stud finder. I said, because think about, there's nothing worse when you want to go hang a picture in your living room and you start measuring and you're looking and you say, oh, right here, this is it. And you go over there with that nail and you start tapping it in and then it just goes and then it just bloop, nothing. Yeah. There's just air. And you're like, gosh. And then you remeasure and you know that it's actually, now it's 4 inches over. So then you do the same thing, you tap it in. Well, now you're not sure if you just missed it by 2 inches. Man, I'm telling you, if you take a thermal I don't care if it's a rifle scope, a monocular, what it is, and you go stand back and you look around a room with traditional wood studs, you can actually do it with metal as well. You will see those studs through the sheetrock. It's strange,
Yeah.
but the way that it works is I guess those studs have heated up. They hold more heat. They're more dense. You've got all that hollow between there with the insulation and just, dead space. And those studs just glow. And you will absolutely see every single stud in your house.
That would make me feel weird. It'd be almost like looking at your house naked or something. Like you start blushing. It's like your house with no
It's
clothes
true
on.
X-ray vision. It's as close as you're going to get X-ray vision with a thermal
Yeah,
is using
exactly
as a
right.
stud finder.
So my second one on the list, and I think this is pretty obvious, and a lot of people know this, but search and rescue. So law enforcement, firefighters, maritime, departments or Coast Guard are using thermal imaging right now. We know that FLIR, that's a big part of FLIR's business, and we all know what happened with them on the consumer side. But they are a huge company, and it's government, law enforcement, and that's where their business comes from. But obviously, search and rescue. If you're a Coast Guard and you're looking for somebody in the ocean, thermal
Yeah.
doesn't do very well in water, but you can see somebody floating on top of the water.
That's
So
right. Well,
it's not going to.
yeah, and over the years, I've actually sold a decent amount of thermal to police departments, fire departments, state parks, some different rescue type operations. I had a rescue operation that worked in a state park that was kind of a, I don't know, semi-volunteer, semi-paid, interesting kind of concept. But anyway, they use it for search and rescue. They have hikers that get lost. They have kids that get lost. And, this one group bought one and they came back and they said, this is the most amazing thing. And they bought 5 more. And they said, we have to go out. They said it's a big expense for us, but when we're out looking for somebody's kid and, at that point, what is a few more $1,000? Because if we're looking for your kid, you don't care what it costs, And so anyway, they had actually used it, and they said, hey, most of the time, it's not a big deal. It's a kid that's wandered off, and he may not even know you're looking for him. We go out there and find him or whatever. And he's like, we've had parents make donations and whatever. And so anyway, pretty cool deal. But that search and rescue is absolutely legitimate. Now,
Yeah, absolutely.
On my list here, I've got one that I find this fascinating. I sit around with thermal sometimes in my house and do this, and it's basically finding the air loss places. So, whether you're losing heat, whether you're losing cool air, you can sit around. I used to live in an old house, about 100-year-old house that was a wood frame, pier and beam up off the ground. And that thing was not known for being tightly insulated, and the wind blow and the curtains would move. But I could sit there in that house for sure, and I could see crazy amount of air leakage in different places, along walls, around light sockets and corners. It was windows, some crazy that I couldn't see with my bare eyes. But when you look at that thermal and you see the different heat patterns and where it's at. Really interesting. And I've seen, and I hope this isn't on this list somewhere, but I actually had an HVAC guy out at my house one time, and he was working on, we had just built a house and they were trying to figure out some stuff with air conditioning, wasn't working exactly right. And man, he brought a thermal out and he was looking all over trying to find, cooling losses and things. So anyway, it really is pretty neat what you can find, and just sitting around there looking at your door and seeing like how much hot air is coming under or around your door in the summer. So anyway, pretty neat.
Moving right on along, number 3 on the list, automotive. So engine and component issues, areas that are, when there's metal on metal friction creating more heat, if you're looking at bearings or whatever. But as it is not good for any motor or motor components to be rubbing against each other, which is going to create too much heat. So you can use that to identify trouble areas, trouble spots. That could be farm equipment. That could be, your car in your garage, your truck in your garage, anything. But
Yeah.
that's one interesting use that I have not tried it for, but it would be pretty neat to, because I've got a trailer, it's making some squeaks and stuff, and I know I've got a bearing going out, and I was thinking about running that thing for a little bit and then getting out with the thermal and checking it out, seeing what it looked like. But it's a pretty good idea.
Yeah, it is, and I've got a lot of guys. I mean, I sold a thermal handheld last week to a guy who is a farmer up north in the Midwest, and he said, "Man, I'm going to use it to look at the bearings on my hay baler and on my tractor." He said it's a big deal for us, and he said I can check that baler out, and I'm like, "Hey, that's actually a really good idea."
Yeah.
So. On my list here, this is one that I haven't personally done, but I've got a buddy who does it. And it's water leaks, and he owns a Serve Pro. They go into fire and water restoration, and he said they'll go in with thermals and look in your walls and stuff. So maybe somebody literally has a water leak and they just don't know exactly where, can't pinpoint it, and maybe it's not like gushing water coming out. It's a pinhole leak, but they got water coming out from underneath the wall, but they don't know. Is it coming out directly above it or 6 foot down the wall? And they'll take that thing and, again, because that where that water is, it's just putting its different temperature, and they're able to just pinpoint right where that is. They can cut the sheetrock out right there and say, okay, now we found it. Let's go in here. So that's, again, X-ray vision. It's actually pretty cool to be able to go in there and see where those leaks and things might be.
And so the next one on my list, number 4, I'm completely fascinated by, and that's checking water tank levels. And I will drive around if I see a water tank or any type of tank. I always look at it to see how full it is. But you can, and I know we're not talking about hunting, but you can check deer feeders from a long way away to see how much corn's in the deer feeder by using that thermal, and it'll show you right to the level of where the deer feeder's at, where the water tank's at, and it is a quick and easy way to do it, and it's pretty amazing. And I like I said, I'm pretty fascinated by it, and I do not let a tank go by without me eyeballing it without a thermal, because I'm so interested to see what's how full it is and that kind of stuff. But checking water tank
it is, and
levels.
corn feeders are the big deal for me.
Yeah,
because
corn feeders.
I hate going and pulling up to the corn feeder. And so I've got a lot of the places I have them, I've got cows. So I'll put, a fence or a hot wire or something on it. So I have to climb over that and I have to go up there and beat on it. Then I'm not real sure. So then I got to climb up on it. Boy, that thing, you can just drive by and go, oh yeah, got about 50 pounds left. I'm good.
Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah,
it is. Well, yeah. Next on my list is one that I've actually used thermal for a lot. I use it on a daily basis for this, and it's basically checking cows and calves. And it's pretty darn neat to be able to look out there day or night and find the cows, especially when they're calving. A lot of people know that an old cow will sometimes go off somewhere that she shouldn't go to have that calf, to go hide it out. And then you can't find them, and you don't know, where it is. So I use it a lot for that, but I'll tell you something else too. Our place is in a big creek bottom. We've got a big creek that splits our place right up the middle. And on the other side of that creek is tons of woods, and it's not cleared. And the cows normally can't get down into the creek because the banks are very high. The places where they're not, we've got barbed wire. But, crazy cows, calves, they will still find a way sometime if they want to get down and get in that creek and cross it. And I know that it was a few months ago, we had, it was actually a group of heifers that my daughter had, and one of them was missing. And we're like, you got to be kidding me. And so we can't find it. And we're looking all over. And we took the thermal, her and I did, and we were riding around on my Ranger. And I start looking, and boom, I find her back in the woods. I mean, she is, probably only 20 yards back in the woods across that creek. How she got back there, why, I don't know. But we got down there, and, started shaking a feed bucket and rattling cube sacks and got her excited, trying, got the others to come, and she saw them, and she finally, crossed back on that creek, and we wouldn't have found her. I mean, she was back in the brush. There's no way that we would have seen her without that thermal. So it is absolutely legitimate for somebody, running a bunch of cows.
Yep. And the last one on my list, which I never would have thought of because I'm not a farmer, and this came from a suggestion from Tom up in Illinois, crop spoilage. So I think it's him and his neighbor, but I don't know what it is exactly they grow, maybe grain, something like that, but it's probably terrible.
It's a great story.
Yeah, great story. It's starting very well.
Every farmer right now is cringing.
Yeah. So they put their stuff in these huge silage bag. Now I've seen a silage bag. Imagine, well, I don't know, you probably have too, but these silage bags, I think he said, are 100 feet long. And they put everything in there, and they use thermals to check for heat spots. And those heat spots show that that whatever's in there is spoiling. They've got to get in there, mix it up, turn it over, and break it up, that hot spot. And he said it has saved them thousands of dollars worth of lost harvest because they were able to go in there and identify the problem and break it up before it spoiled the whole.
Yeah.
I guess it spoiled the whole bag or whatever. But I think that's if you can do that, you might have a tax deductible item.
Yeah, I think I think it'd be very, very reasonable.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you another one that I had recently. And this is my last one on the list. And again, this is a personal experience. I wish it wasn't, but I noticed one evening sitting there on my bed, a little funny looking spot on the baseboard. And I reached over there and just kind of kicked it, and my toe went in it. And I'm like, this is not good. My house is only 3 or 4 years old, and I just stuck my toe into my baseboard. And I'm thinking, oh man, I got a water leak. It was right underneath the window. And I was like, oh gosh, water has run down this stud and whatever. So anyway, long story short, I get somebody out there to come look at it, and the carpenter comes, we pull the baseboard off, and he goes, you don't have a water leak, you have termites. And I'm like, I got a new house. How can I have termites? You got to be kidding me. I lived in a 100-year-old all wood house with no termites, and I'm in a metal barn house on concrete, and I got termites. This does not add up. So anyway, a long story short, I had a termite guy come out, and we got to talking, and he said, hey, do you sell thermal? And I said, yeah, I've got them sitting right here on top of my gun safe. He said, let's take that thing and let's start looking. So we started looking around, and it was amazing that we could, see this one spot that had some active termites in it. And it was a small spot, but he was like, hey, this is great because we think they're only right here, where they're not everywhere. Your house hadn't fallen down. And so he told me, he said, this is something that he said, I don't own one. He said, for our business, he said, but some of the other companies do. And he said, it's something that we've looked at investing in. And he was kind of blown away. He's like, I know this is for hunting. He goes, but gosh, that worked perfect. And so ended up, long story short, it was right. The thermal was right. There was one small spot. They ended up having to do a lot of treatment and drilling in my slab, doing a bunch of things to get it all treated. But we figured out really where the extension of those termites were, and they hadn't gone far. We caught them early. But termites is something else again. And I think all my stuff basically is X-ray vision. Now that I'm looking at this, it's all this looking into your walls to see what's back there.
Looking at your house naked. It's exactly
right.
So that has been 10. Well, we called it the 10 best uses for thermal. It may not be the best, but it's the 10 best that we saw on the list that we were interested in. So again, I'm going to put a link to that article in the description of this video on YouTube, so you can go check it out for yourself. There's a lot more on there, and you're right, some of them do cover multiple areas, but it is pretty cool to go through and see. And maybe you're right. You can do what Jason said, justify it to your wife or your husband. If you're a female hunter out there getting thermal, you got to justify it to somebody. You can justify it to
Uncle
yourself.
Sam. Yeah.
Well, maybe that's a different conversation. But thank y'all for joining us again this week. This has been episode 104, 10 best uses for thermal that don't involve hunting. If you are interested in purchasing any night vision or thermal scope or optic, please give Jason Robertson a call at 877-350-1818. You can find all his products on outdoorlegacygear.com. We've talked about the Helion 2 XP50 tonight. We talked about the brand new Thermion, Pulsar Thermion XQ50, which are out in very limited supply right now. But if you're interested in that, if you want to learn more about it, you can check out my channel here very soon, my YouTube channel. That's Hans, HANSETX, just like Hans East Texas. I'll be coming out with a very short first impressions video of the Pulsar Thermion XQ50, as well as my full review of the Pulsar Helion 2 XP50. So those are the next two videos that are going to be coming out very soon. I'll also, if you're on Instagram, check me out on Instagram, because I'll be showing clips and footage from both of those optics as well. If you want to find Jason, you can find him on YouTube at Outdoor Legacy Gear. You can find him on Facebook and Instagram at the same thing, Outdoor Legacy Gear. But again, we appreciate you watching this week. And you know what? Why don't you go ahead and do the close right now?
That's a great idea. Folks, thank you all for listening. We appreciate you coming back every week. Those of you who do, so please like and subscribe. We really appreciate it. We appreciate your comments, your feedback, your show suggestions, if I can say that. If you haven't, you can go over to thelatenightVisionShow.com. You can find all the past episodes, links to social media, find info about Hans and I. And so we really do appreciate all your support and all your feedback. And folks, we will be back here next week, same place, same time, good Lord willing. So in the meantime, stay safe in the fields and keep making those bacon pancakes.